All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the 1883 Speaker Series. My name is Mike Wozniak, and I serve as the Coordinator of Leadership and Programming in the Student Involvement and Parent Programs Office. In the next 18 minutes and 83 seconds, we will learn a new lesson on leadership, as well as some advice to guide our personal and professional development. For today's speaker, please join me in welcoming UND Alumnus and Board Chair of the UND Alumni Association and Foundation, Jim Poolman.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for spending some time with us today. When I thought about what to talk to you about today, I thought I'd put a tagline on it. From paperboy to politician and public servant to pub owner. And the alliteration works, right? It's great to be here with you all, and this microphone may or may not work the rest of the day. It's hooked on. I am not going to do my best Backstreet Boy or Britney Spears imitation, but what I'd like to do is give you a little bit about my story, and then what I've learned in my 54 years of life so far that you might be able to apply as an adult or as somebody that's going into business or somebody that might consider public service and somebody that or somebody that just like to use some valuable life lessons that somebody's paying through before you have to. So what I'd like to do is just talk a little bit about my story. I grew up in Fargo, North Dakota, about a half a block down from one of my friends in the upper deck here. His father on Pearl Avenue in Fargo, North Dakota, became a paperboy at age 11 for the Fargo Forum. And I knew from that point on that at some point in time I was going to be my own entrepreneur and I was going to work for myself. We used to have contests at the Fargo Forum about who could sell the most subscriptions. And at 12 years old, I was the youngest paperboy in Fargo Forum history and sold the most subscriptions ever as a paperboy. They put me out on the circuit to talk to others around the city to be able to sell subscriptions. So I knew that it taught me, first of all, to be able to communicate at 12 years old with adults that were far older than I was and far scarier than I thought they would be, in all sorts of demographics, all sorts of areas. Then after I graduated, during high school I was very involved in the Dakota Club, marketing clubs, business-oriented clubs that also transferred up to here when I became a student at UND. And I always tell my kids, by the way, that if they have half the college experience that I did at the University of North Dakota, then they were doing something right, because I loved this place. I had such a great time here. Most of my lifelong lessons started here. The ability to gain leadership qualities, the ability to learn about business, but most of all, the ability to learn about people. And it all started here. And I hope you folks are having the same experiences here that I did. When I came up here, I got involved in absolutely everything. A few of my contemporaries are in the audience today, and they can attest to the fact that I was involved in almost everything possible that I had time for. Unfortunately for me, school sort of became a secondary item to all of those clubs and activities, and an occasional trip to Bonzer's downtown, which became more than an occasional trip. But anyway, had a great time here. Ended up becoming student body president here in 1992, was very active in student government, which gave me an opportunity to flourish. UND gave me an opportunity to really sort of reinvent myself from sort of this nerdy kid that was on the swim team, but that's about the only thing athletic I ever did, to somebody who could get involved in almost everything and provide value to those around me. And I just had a fantastic time in doing that. Post-graduation, yes, I did graduate. Post-graduation, I immediately ran for office here, and if some of you are in campaign season right now. In District 42, I became a state representative, and I served in that capacity for 8 years. That was back when politics was more enjoyable than it is now, and public service is probably seen as more noble back then than it is now. Politics, of course, right now is divisive. It's being a politician is something that some are not proud to associate with or proud to acknowledge that they were involved in that. But back then, Republicans worked with Democrats, we worked with each other, we became friends, and we worked together to solve common problems. And less now, but I really had a fantastic time doing that and representing this area in the North Dakota legislature to work very hard at trying to, A, take care of the University of North Dakota and the Grand Forks community, and try to do something better for the state down the road. I ran for insurance commissioner in 2000, and was fortunate enough to fool enough voters across the state to win. And at the time, I ran against a guy who spent $750,000 of his own money to get elected. I was a 29-year-old kid still running for office. I raised a record, at the time, a record $125,000 to run for statewide office. He outspent me about 5 to 1, and I still was fortunate enough to win. And getting out and communicating a vision and communicating with people was, again, things I learned young, things I really amplified here at the University of North Dakota, and took those things on the road. I also worked for Bremer Bank at the time in their trust department. And so I served for 7 years in that capacity and loved it. And it was one of the greatest jobs, trying to help people across the state with any insurance issues that they had, regulating a multi-billion-dollar industry in North Dakota that is so important. Think about what the state of Florida is going to be going through in the next days and weeks and months and years ahead because of Milton. All of those insured claims, all of those things that are where people are going to absolutely be in need, they're looking to public servants to help them out, to sift through their problems, to help them put their lives on track. That's what the insurance commissioner does in North Dakota. That's what the same insurance commissioner does in the state of Florida. Had a great time involved in public service. In 2007, I left that job to start my own consulting company. It was a leap of faith. But yet I believed in myself enough to be able to take that leap and to be able to then start my own business and create something out of nothing, essentially. And I run my own consulting practice where now I work with insurance companies on insurance and regulatory issues across the country. So to the average person, my niece is in the audience, and half my family doesn't really know what I do. And I tell people, I tell insurance companies how to stay out of trouble. And then when they get into trouble, I have to advise them how to get out of trouble. It's great for money making because nobody ever listens. They always do make the wrong decisions anyway, and so then I have to come in and help clean it up. So it's really job satisfaction, and it keeps me on the payroll with these companies across the country. In 2009, took another leap of faith. I had a friend, and we always joked about when we were going to retire, we were going to open a small town bar on a lake, and we were going to run the bar, and that was going to be our retirement gig. Well, that sort of blossomed into, all of a sudden we found this beautiful building in downtown Bismarck, and we thought, we need to put something here. And so it turned into it was going to start like a Bonzer's type thing. I know a few of you have been there. A Bonzer's type pub, and then all of a sudden exploded into something much larger where we found this building, and we went in and redid it. I borrowed $85,000. I had just gotten out of public service, borrowed $85,000, convinced a bank to give it to me, and started this business. And fortunately, 2 months later, after we opened, I got that $85,000 back. It doesn't always work that way, right? We started a renaissance of downtown Bismarck. And so then a matter of 2 or 3 years later, we built a freestanding, 2 years later, we added on and bought the building next door and added on to the place because the demand was so high. And then about 2 or 3 years later, we built a freestanding one in West Fargo. 2 or 3 years later, Sioux Falls. We opened Sioux Falls about a year before COVID hit. And imagine, again, taking entrepreneurial risk is important. It doesn't always work out. And so the first year of our Sioux Falls place, we had to feed it. We weren't from Sioux Falls, didn't know the market all that well, and we had to feed it cash to keep the employees going, to keep the business going, and then COVID hit, which only made it worse. And so extenuating circumstances, we were shut down for about 6 to 8 weeks, and then proceeded to open back up. After it was like the heavens opened, and all of a sudden people came. And it was, and now that Sioux Falls location is our best operating location out of them all. About 2 years ago, if any of you are from Fargo, you may know of the Hotel Donaldson in Fargo. It's an old, beautiful, historic hotel. We bought that hotel in Fargo and put our Blarney Stone concept in the main floor, redid the entire hotel, and are having a great time with it. So we've almost become a chain, so to speak, in the best sense of the word. And so my entrepreneurial roots are deep. Love redoing old things. Love having the opportunity to create and to experience, make customers happy, give guest experiences that they may not have had elsewhere. One of my lessons about this, and I've got a little note card where I wrote about 4 bullet points down where I'd like to talk to you about, but one of those things is, one of those life lessons is surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. About 4 or 5 years ago, I bought my partners out of that business that I just talked to you about. And I brought in 2 new partners into the business. And I surrounded myself with people that are smarter than me. My primary business partner is the brains behind our operation. He can squeeze blood out of a turnip, so to speak. He is the numbers guy, he is the accountant, he is the person that can put things together like I could never put together. I tell people I'm the vision guy and he's the brains behind the operation. Do I worry about that I'm not the smartest guy? Absolutely not. If you surround yourself with people with different attributes than you have, then you make one hell of a team. And that's what we've done so far. We're now looking at a Grand Forks location on the south end of town. We're looking at an Omaha location at the same time. It's given us the opportunity, this new partnership that works together, that gives an opportunity to learn from each other, also gives us an opportunity to expand. And so entrepreneurial risk is important. The fear of failure should not be incapacitating. In other words, my $85,000, what was I going to do if I had to pay that back? Well, I'm never going to stiff a bank. And so if it wouldn't have worked and we were on the hook, you've got to find a way to get out of that. But that's the entrepreneurial risk that can pay off in the end, and it should not be incapacitating to make decisions. Those decisions should be well thought out, obviously. But taking that leap is important, and giving yourself the opportunity to run with it is incredibly important. A couple of other lessons that and by the way, I want to say this right. You can get into business with your friends. They may not always stay your friends because you're having to make decisions that are going to be that are going to be difficult for everybody involved. I went to a thing last week, a lecture last week with Arthur Brooks. And he gave a line that'll always stick with me. And in fact, I've heard it 3 or 4 times from other people that were at that event. There are deal friends and there are real friends. So if you take one thing away from what I've talked to you about today, is there are deal friends and there are real friends. And I have now in my business real friends. And we can make difficult decisions, we can talk about difficult issues, and then move a business forward and still have mutual respect for each other. Deal friends you might be transactional with, right? You might do a deal with, or you might have a plan to do something together, but are they truly your real friend, and are they going to be there through thick and thin? Deal friends versus real friends. Not only surrounding yourself with important people, but surrounding yourself with capable people that you can trust. Trust is incredibly important. I also want to talk to you about community. You're part of this UND community that I love, and I'm still part of this community, and I love it. But communities are all different. Everybody's definition of community is different. It might be the town you live in or the town you grew up in. It might be UND. It might be a fraternity or sorority or a club that you're involved in. It's important to rely on that community for support, especially in the business world, by the way. If you're ignoring the community that you're involved in, why would you expect them to support you if you don't support them? I translate that to the University of North Dakota. They're here supporting you every day. Having the ability to support them as an institution is important. As it said behind me, I'm the chair of the University Alumni, University of North Dakota Alumni Association Foundation Board of Directors. In fact, half the staff is here, and I want to tell them your performance reviews are done. You don't have to be here. But one of the greatest things that gives me joy is I'm not the smartest guy in that boardroom. I get the opportunity to work with staff that are here today that are smarter than I am, that business leaders, technology leaders, investment leaders, all of those folks around the table that I know are smarter than I am. But I get incredible joy from helping facilitate the discussions that go along with that if you can set ego aside and know that you're not the smartest guy in the room and learn from them. And having the ability to absorb what they're doing, absorb what they're saying, and get a life lesson out of every time you meet with them. That happens in every community that you might be involved in. It might happen in this room, it might happen in some other setting here at UND. Take advantage of every one of those communities to learn a little something, but then to also give back to the people that are in that specific community. I would say this differently if I wasn't in a public setting and we were sitting down at the bar downtown, but my biggest piece of advice also, don't be a jerk. I run into employers right now, insurance companies across the country, who say, we have a no-jerk policy. We don't hire jerks. If they come and they are jerks, we get rid of them. By the way, I've been a jerk aplenty. And so learn from my mistakes that in politics, in business, you get far more with honey than you do with vinegar. And treating people with respect and kindness and the ability to learn from them, and they know you're learning from them, eliminates the jerk factor. And the older I get, the more I'm attuned to this, and I recognize what an asshole I was about 10 years ago. And so all of you folks that are attending the university and that are going to be out looking for jobs and everything else, if you can communicate and you're not a jerk, you're already got a leg up on so many other people. And so, and I'm serious about the policy. I was just at a meeting 2 weeks ago with Athene, which is owned by Apollo, which is one of the largest private equity companies in the world. And they have a no-jerk policy. And so they're serious about it. It came up just recently. And so I hope that you'll take that seriously and learn that, that being kind to others and respectful is going, and I don't mean that to sound condescending in any sort of way, because I'm still learning that lesson, and I'm 54 years old, and it's pretty easy to slip back into the mode and start to push back, and you can do so politely, but without being a jerk. Giving back is essential. Giving back to your community, giving back to your college. As I mentioned, I'm going to put a shameless plug. You know, my wife Nicole and I like to consider ourselves budding philanthropists, right? Where we started to give back. I'm going to put a shameless plug in for a program that's here on campus. It's called the Poolman Leadership Academy that my wife and I set up a number of years ago. I think applications are closed for this fall, but I believe you're running a spring program. And so I would encourage every one of you to take a look at it. It's providing other opportunities to learn and develop and grow as future leaders. And this is the way we like to give back. And so I say that you don't have to be 54 years old to give back. You don't have to give money. You can give your time, your talent, and your treasure in other ways. And if people know that they're giving back, you're giving back, they're going to support you. And I can't stress that enough. And I got to tell you, it gives me and others that we work with a hell of a lot of joy to give back and to see you impacting somebody else's life by giving back. And it doesn't have to be money. It can be in so many other ways. Philanthropy is a huge thing on campus. No matter what student organization that you might be involved in, continue that going forward. My last comment, and I'm going to hit this on 1883. My last comment is be grateful. Be grateful for what you have here. Be grateful for this university that's providing you an awesome education. Be grateful for your family, and be grateful for your friends, but be grateful for what's ahead of you. Because there are wonderful things ahead of you, and I hope that you'll experience all of them. I am super grateful that you're here. I'm super grateful that you are part of this University of North Dakota community, and I'm incredibly grateful to be here with you today. You're so lucky to be part of this great UND community, and like it or not, from this moment going forward, you're going to be forever UND. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim. That actually was exactly 1883, so well done. Thanks to all of you again for attending, and then join us on October 30th to hear from the Dean of the School of Graduate Studies, Dr. Chris Nelson. Have a great rest of your week.